quando o GNT me convidou para apresentar esse programa, cujo tema central é sujeira em cozinhas, em estabelecimentos, em restaurantes, eu pensei até em não aceitar. Afinal de contas, mesmo que tudo se passe na Inglaterra e nos Estados Unidos, eu fiquei meio receoso. Afinal, são colegas de profissão. E a gente tem que ter, não tanto quanto os políticos, mas tem que ter um pouco de espírito de corpo. Mas, no que se refere à higiene, eu acho que não se deve ter esse esprit de corps, como diz os franceses. O que a gente deve ter realmente e que deve procurar é induzir que todos os lugares tenham higiene adequada, comida boa, porque senão não tem cliente, e principalmente também uma apresentação geral em ordem. A limpeza não é uma virtude, a limpeza é uma necessidade, é condição sine qua non para uma boa cozinha. Me lembro uma história, o velho do Otávio Guinle, quando tinha o Copacabana Palace, e que tomava conta diretamente, isso há talvez 60, 70 anos atrás, em que ele punha todos os garçons enfileirados antes de começar a trabalhar, e os garçons eram obrigados a mostrar a mão para ver se estava com a unha cortada e limpa. Mas o que mais me chamou a atenção, além das baratinhas, dos cocozinhos de rato que aparecem nesse vídeo, foi o comportamento, ou melhor, a diferença do comportamento entre os súditos da Sua Majestade a Rainha Elizabeth e os do país do presidente George W. Bush. Enquanto as senhoras inglesas se queixavam de uma certa falta de atenção, de carinho, depois de terem acontecido fatos graves com pessoas das suas famílias, os americanos só vinham era com o pedido de indenização. Quer dizer, vira um business. Como tudo que eles fazem acaba se resumindo num grande business. Eu acho que todo mundo que está nesse ramo, todo mundo que trabalha no setor de restaurante, deve assistir esse vídeo, porque é um alerta para os acontecimentos graves que podem acontecer como decorrência de uma desatenção. Apenas eu vou terminar dizendo que eu acho que a maioria dos restaurantes no Brasil, a grande maioria dos restaurantes aqui no Brasil, não se enquadra nesse setor de restaurantes do inferno. Muito pelo contrário. E eu quero dizer o seguinte, que isso não sirva de motivo para vocês deixarem de vir aos restaurantes, que afinal de contas capricham, empregam muita gente e procuram fazer uma comidinha melhor possível, inclusive no meu.
Comer fora, uma das maiores atividades de lazer da Inglaterra. 35 bilhões de dólares são gastos por ano, esperando-se uma comida saudável e um lugar limpo onde se comer. A maioria dos restaurantes provém isso, mas existem os restaurantes infernais.
Right, in this cupboard we have mouse droppings. Those bowls will be used to put food in at a later stage.
I'll be a lot more careful from now on in terms of examining food before I use it.
I've actually seen fresh rat droppings. Michael paid with his life for having E. coli 0157 after going to Blackpool on holidays.
Bem-vindos a Restaurantes do Inferno. Esse é Peter Crowden, nosso exterminador disfarçado. Ele oferece aos restaurantes uma amostra de novas armadilhas para ratos. Se eles aceitam, Peter entra direto nas cozinhas sujas. Mas o que eles não sabem é que Peter está armado com câmeras escondidas. Ele nos levará às partes dos restaurantes do inferno que vocês não queriam conhecer. Peter procura ratos que trazem doenças ao subirem pelo esgoto a fim de achar um petisco na cozinha. Baratas que andam por cima do lixo antes de passarem por sua comida. E camundongos incontinentes descontrolados. Vejam como correm. Não queremos nada disso em uma cozinha, mas Peter visitou restaurantes onde a presença de bichos era maior do que a de clientes.
Telltale signs that I'd look for are grubby restaurant fronts, food that have been left out over the restaurant overnight.
Peter foi a um restaurante de uma grande cadeia chamada The Aberdeen and Angus Steakhouses. Eles já foram processados por problemas com insetos e nós queríamos ver se eles tomaram jeito. Peter conseguiu entrar em um dos restaurantes deles, na Shaftesbury Avenue.
Morning. How are you? Have I got a couple of minutes so I can just give you three, just have a look around and just do it for you? Is that all right? Okay, thank you.
Não foi difícil entrar. Não falta muito para a hora do almoço. Logo, algo chama a atenção de Peter dentro de um armário.
Right, in this cupboard we have mouse droppings. They are active mouse droppings. I'm just going to move a bowl to one side and I'll point to the droppings that I can actually see. So at this present time there's active mice within here.
As tigelas estão lavadas e prontas para irem até os clientes, que podem não notar algo extra na sua sopa. Animados com o sucesso desta investida, Peter e o nosso pesquisador John, que também está filmando, resolvem visitar outra loja da cadeia, desta vez na Leicester Square.
Nip in here and have a quick look. Here we have another mouse drop in here, and in fact we've got now gravy, which that is a gravy or a sauce which hasn't got a lid on it, so obviously there's mice infestation in it. Without delving into it, there's a little bit suspect on that. There's a little bit of a black dropping in there. Very, very poor hygiene practices.
Peter achou mais do que esperava e parte para outro restaurante da mesma cadeia do outro lado da praça. Esses lugares de Londres são populares entre os turistas, pois oferecem pratos como filés com batatas fritas e cobram caro. Vocês terão sorte se conseguirem uma refeição com 3 pratos por menos de $49 por cabeça. Em 1996, esse restaurante foi multado em $14.000 por infestação de ratos. Os camundongos gostaram tanto que voltaram. Um dos funcionários disse que os vê correndo pelo local.
Pest control. Just having a look around. Mouse. That's it.
Yes.
Have you seen any? Under there. Hello. It says there's some mice in here. Okay. It said there's mice here, running around. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, have you got some more? Yeah. Shall we have a look? Under there. Yes. Yeah. There's a very bad sewage smell. That's very noticeable as soon as I walked in this part. Here we have more mouse droppings on here. On the electrical cupboards. Again, very fresh. Tremendous amount of mouse droppings just here, in this corner. Very favourite place here. You can actually see the smear marks where they've been sitting in the corner and then actually producing the droppings as well. I would say this was quite a major mouse infestation.
Eles chegam até a subir na pia.
You pay good money for food nowadays in restaurants. You don't want the mice crawling all over your food, helping themselves to it before it's your turn.
Mostramos esse filme ao perito em saúde pública Peter Phillips, que trabalha na indústria alimentícia fazendo treinamentos de higiene por todo o país.
It's not against the law to have the occasional pest infestation. It is against the law not to do anything about it and to allow food to get contaminated. In this piece of film, we can see mouse droppings very close to, possibly in, utensils that are going to be used. And mice do carry a whole variety of potential illnesses in their droppings, including things like salmonella. I think the level of droppings that, particularly in the hot cabinet with all the crockery there, it's very, very obvious that contaminated mouse droppings. We're seeing similar problems in more than one premises, then I think they need to deal with it on a company-wide basis.
Fomos falar com a empresa, cujo faturamento anual passa dos 28 milhões de dólares. O diretor não quis dar entrevista, mas disse que os funcionários fazem inspeções diárias e que dedetizadoras sempre visitam os restaurantes para fazer uma manutenção e que cada loja tem um manual de procedimentos de higiene. Eles insistem que isso basta para conter a contaminação. Talvez eles reconsiderem sua posição depois de verem nossas imagens. Clive Temple é nosso próximo exterminador disfarçado. Ele vendia material de limpeza para restaurantes. Agora ele está de volta e armado com câmeras. Ele está oferecendo uma lavadora a vapor e sabe muito bem aonde ir.
Clean windows, good sign of a clean kitchen. Dirty windows, you've got a good chance there might be a dirty kitchen as well.
Clive está indo para Chinatown, em Londres, onde uma olhada nos becos por trás dos restaurantes indica que deve haver um problema. Sacos de lixo e caixas descobertas indicam que a higiene não é prioridade. A fachada deste restaurante, Lee Hall Folk, é convidativa, como também o salão.
Upstairs is quite a very pleasant restaurant, one would think, from the outside world, but when you go down the fire escape into the kitchen, you'd see a completely different environment.
Uma vez lá dentro, Clive mostra crostas de sujeira na cozinha. É nojento, mas os insetos adoram. Depois ele encontra baratas em uma caixa de papelão. Será que essa caixa vai para o lixo ou vai embalar algum prato? Mais baratas no chão. E um líquido marrom pinga constantemente do teto da cozinha, aparado por um plástico. E mais vazamentos, desta vez no banheiro dos funcionários. O chão está encharcado com uma água imunda. Mas o pior ainda estava por vir. Provas de um grande perigo para a saúde.
I actually seen fresh rat droppings.
Isso mesmo, ratos. Perto da pia onde a carne de frango é preparada. A pia fica próxima de uma porta que leva à área onde as panelas são guardadas, perto de um ralo em que há água de esgoto.
The gully covers are missing. The rats use our drainage system as a motorway, a place for getting from one place to another. And if we make it nice and easy for them to get out, well, they are going to come out. Most of these pests have been on rubbish and maybe fecal material before they land on your food. And if you leave rubbish around either outside or indeed inside and leave unclean areas like under the units, as we can see, then that's just encouraging those pests to come in. And they're going to feed on that rubbish, and then obviously they're going to go for the open food if they can find it as well and spread disease.
Escrevemos ao restaurante sobre o que Clive viu e perguntamos se queriam dar uma entrevista. O dono, Michael Lamb, concordou, mas não apareceu. David Teal é o gerente do local.
Mr. Lamb's not in today, so I'll take care of the rest of the interview.
Since we saw the kitchen, what exactly have you done? If we went in the kitchen now, what
okay, you can do that. We already replaced all the staff in the kitchens. I mean, the cleaners, the chef as well, and we have already sent the people to do lots of, the training courses for the food and hygiene as well.
O gerente nos levou à cozinha, onde vimos a equipe com uniformes novos. Tudo estava mais limpo. Havia uma tampa improvisada no ralo. As panelas deixaram seu depósito ao ar livre. Mas alguns problemas antigos ainda existiam. Lá estava a sujeira nos cantos e sob as instalações. Mostramos nossas filmagens às autoridades de saúde pública para que os clientes não sejam enganados. É um prazer para Alice e Toby Sharp. A Del Coulter, tia deles, sempre os leva ao Burger King em Halifax. Mas eles tiveram uma surpresa. Ao examinar seu saco de batatas fritas, Toby, de 2 anos, achou algo inesperado.
It was in the car eating his chips and he pulled out the lizard and he said it's a lizard. And I said it was a lizard.
Quando Toby mostrou o bicho à tia, ela quase bateu com o carro.
I was nearly sick myself, the thought of it being in his fries and knowing that he'd actually eaten some. It was awful.
O mistério sobre o tipo de réptil que era e como ele foi parar lá estava nas mãos do Departamento de Saúde Pública de Calderdale. A investigação concluiu que o óleo extraído da lagartixa era diferente do óleo que o Burger King usa para fritar batatas, sugerindo que o animal não foi frito com o alimento. Não havia nada errado com a operação do Burger King. Eles vendem 100 milhões de porções de batatas por ano e nunca alguém achou uma lagartixa dentro delas. Mas como ela foi parar lá continua um mistério.
I'll be a lot more careful from now on in terms of examining food before I use it.
Outra pessoa que teve uma surpresa desagradável foi Tony Wills, que estava com pressa para pegar seu trem.
So I was in a hurry to get something to eat before I got the train, but I wanted to get a seat, so I just wanted something quick, and called into the buffet bar for a burger. I ordered 2 cheeseburgers and a bottle of water, and once I got those, went out of the shop and opened the water, drank a bit of that. I was in a hurry, so I didn't look. I just took the greaseproof paper off the first one and then put it straight into my mouth. But I must have been inhaling at the time, and I felt this acrid sensation at the back of my throat. A little bit like breathing in smoke. And when I took the burger out and saw this green and blue mold around it, I just immediately threw up. It was a quite disgusting experience. I was absolutely livid. And took the burger back into the cafe, and then I was made even more livid by the attitude. It was just simply, do you want your money back then?
A lanchonete era de propriedade da Select Service Partner Limited.
I think if I had eaten that thing, then I would have been seriously ill. Because those burgers were about 8 days old, past the sell-by date.
A lanchonete foi processada por vender comida estragada. De fato, a Select Services a fechou logo depois e abriu uma cafeteria, onde será difícil comer um hambúrguer mofado.
The company was fined £5,000. I was awarded £250 in compensation. But there was also the adverse publicity about the company, which was gratifying for me.
Qualquer um pode abrir um restaurante, não exigem licença. O Departamento de Saúde Pública de Burton não acreditou quando a Companhia de Água e Esgotos fez uma denúncia sobre o que poderia ser o restaurante mais sujo da Inglaterra.
We received a fax in the morning from South Gloucestershire Water Authority saying that the water to the Farham Balti house in Stapenhill had been cut off for approximately 3 months.
Um restaurante sem água? Pouco provável, e Mark foi investigar. Ele foi armado com uma câmera. Se fosse verdade, eles teriam de fechar o local e processar o dono. A primeira coisa que chocou Mark e Kaylee foi o cheiro de gordura rançosa.
All the burgers that we found, wrapped in a quite horrible, dirty linen cloth, were either hard and crusty and obviously should not have been used, or actually had gone slimy with contamination and deterioration of the product itself. They were the only burgers we found within the restaurant. They were on the menu and to be used if necessary.
We found dressings and sauces that were past their use-by date months rather than a few days.
Mas a total falta de água no local era a coisa mais chocante.
The water that he had been able to get hold of was in a huge sort of vat that had been used for cleaning, and once they finished with that water, they used it to flush the toilets with, and the standards inside the toilet was just completely, revolting.
A situação do restaurante era tão ruim que ele foi fechado e o dono foi processado. Mas ele não podia pagar a multa, por isso ficou preso durante 6 semanas. E foi proibido de abrir outro restaurante na vida. Porém, o antigo lugar foi reaberto pelos novos donos com água corrente. Litoral da Cornualha, um belo cenário para um casamento. Pelo menos era o que pensavam Michael e Jack Hughes quando reservaram o salão do Hotel Atlantic para o casamento da filha deles. Mas a história foi bem diferente.
It started off as, I suppose, the wedding that one dreams of, and it ended up as the wedding in a nightmare.
Michael e Jackie podiam escolher entre vários hotéis para dar a recepção de Tracy.
Well, we actually went to several hotels, didn't we? But as luck would have it, on the day that we went to the Atlantic Hotel, it was laid up for a wedding. And the moment we walked through the door, Tracy just fell in love with it, didn't she?
Yeah, they had sort of spectacular views from the windows. And we had a lot of guests coming from sort of far away as Belgium. And so we wanted somebody sort of impressive to make their journey worthwhile as well.
For Tracy, obviously, it was the most important day of her life. And therefore it was for us as well.
It was a really rainy day, unfortunately, on the day. And we didn't notice that at all. We had the photographer in the hotel, and because there's lovely backdrops and nice settings and it's all glass, we had all of our photographs done, and I didn't even once think, oh, I wish the weather was nicer, or it was like raining and we just didn't care. It was just such a nice sort of setting.
We had drinks before, champagne and wine before. We sat down and we had a 4-course meal. You know, we were so pleased on the day. We actually asked the guests to applaud the waiting staff at the end of the wedding, and they did, because everyone thought the food was fantastic.
À noite, os convidados dançaram e o hotel serviu uma ceia. Na semana seguinte ao casamento, Michael e Jack nem desconfiavam da catástrofe iminente. Até que...
There was a phone call from my boss's wife, and she said that she didn't want to upset me, but she wanted to tell me that there'd been a problem, that Andrew had been very, very ill, that he had salmonella poisoning, and that the health people would be contacting us. I just felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I just couldn't believe it.
Andrew não foi o único. 24 convidados tiveram intoxicação alimentar. A pedido da Saúde Pública, Jack e Michael tiveram de ligar para os convidados para alertá-los. Quem estivesse doente deveria fazer um exame de fezes.
So embarrassing and humiliating, and you felt that you were to blame.
2 semanas depois, quando Paul e Tracy voltaram da lua de mel, havia um recado para eles.
The answer phone was on with my mum asking to sort of give her a call urgently. As I said, I did think it was something that happened in the family initially. This is what you do when you get a late night phone call, but it was mum saying, look, I think you better sit down. There's been food poisoning at the wedding. You'll probably have a sample jar on your doormat. You'll be contacted by a health inspector within the next couple of days. And then it started to actually unfold that Paul's sister-in-law had been very ill. He was pregnant. Sort of as a result of that, I was sort of in tears for probably about a week afterwards.
I had a friend who had a very elderly mother. She was in her 80s. She was still ill 6 months after the wedding. And really, I think was quite lucky that it didn't kill her. She'd been so ill at the time.
Michael escreveu para o hotel dizendo que os convidados haviam sido intoxicados. O hotel respondeu dizendo que não tinha nada a ver com o caso e negou ter qualquer responsabilidade. Mas os fiscais visitaram a cozinha do hotel e constataram a falta de higiene.
I was horrified when they said they had to search to find any form of cleaning material. Search. And they found one jar of something like a household cleaner of some sort. And worst of all, the toilets that were used by the staff had no form of hand washing material in them whatsoever. I mean, the mind boggles. The thoughts that people were in the kitchen and that when they went to the toilets, there was nowhere to wash their hands. And it just doesn't bear thinking that.
Não foi a primeira vez que o hotel foi processado. Ele havia sido multado 1 ano antes por falta de asseio. Mas os Hughes não sabiam. Desta vez, o hotel foi notificado por vender comida estragada. Eles disseram que os problemas de higiene foram resolvidos. Michael estava furioso e resolveu processá-los.
Their only defence was that as only a third of my guests got poisoned, they should only return a third of the money to me. Quite honestly, the judge died laughing.
Os Hughes receberam o dinheiro de volta, mais de $4.000, e tiveram as custas judiciais pagas.
If they had once said to us during it all, we can see how distressed you are, and we're so sorry, if it was our fault, then we would never ever have actually taken them to court. But it was just the fact that they didn't care.
When you're going out for dinner or a drink, you expect that a member of the public should feel safe.
Jean Singh encontrou uma amiga no Melton Hotel para fazer um lanche. Quando ela foi ao banheiro feminino, teve início uma história de terror.
It was a very small toilet with 2 cubicles, 2 toilets, and I'd moved the window to look, and then I thought, I'll just go into the next one. And I sat on the toilet seat. I'd felt this burning sensation. And I actually put my hand in to see what it was on my skin, and my watch had disintegrated into my arm. The arm was black. It was like charcoal. The pain was excruciating from the back leg. It all burned into the bone. And I got up in sheer panic and to go out and slipped on this substance and fell backwards on the floor. And I was squealing out, and I was in sheer shock that I just ran out of the Melton Hotel, running to make for home.
Jean caiu em uma poça de solução para desentupir ralos. Era quase ácido sulfúrico puro.
It was like eating with piranha fish. It was flesh eating. It was eating my flesh away. The dress was dripping as I was running and squealing and crying out for help. God, please someone help me, I'm burning. Total panic and shock. I didn't know what was happening to me. Yeah, I made it home. I was just running about, didn't know what to do, or nobody at home, and in the kitchen there was one towel there for the kitchen, and I was soaking them, and I was trying to get it off my legs, and I was squealing, and then I just completely went into shock and ran out into the street. In St Michael's, that's when my neighbour, Mr and Mrs Patel, that they really helped me, that I just shudder to think what might have happened to me.
Os vizinhos chamaram uma ambulância e ela foi para o hospital. Se Jean tivesse tomado uma chuveirada, os danos seriam menores, mas o ácido continuou queimando a pele dela.
When I woke up, both legs were very bandaged right up to the waist.
A large amount of her burns were on the back of her thigh and calf. So she was lying on her own burns, inflamed areas, very sore. Imagine having an overdose of sunburn, constantly painful, tender to touch, on fire, so to speak. It's like that.
I was getting morphine injections. It certainly was helping for a spell, and then when it wore off again, sometimes I was out my mind with the pain. That's the worst. That is really painful, this one, because it's burned all into the bone and the nerves, and it just goes the whole day.
O gerente do Melton Hotel Jornai Sanguera foi multado em $1.400 por risco à saúde e Jean entrou com um processo de ressarcimento por suas lesões.
The damages of £29,000 that she was awarded have not been paid. She hasn't seen a penny of that money, and in my view, never will. The landlord's attitude throughout has been obstructive, seeking to delay the proceedings and failing to comply with orders which the court made.
I really did think that they might have closed him down. At the end of the day, I was horrifically burned, not through any fault of my own, through his negligence, and I thought at least they would have closed him down anyway.
Jornai Sanguera ainda dirige o Melton Hotel. Perguntamos por que ele não pagou a Jean a indenização que ela ganhou na justiça, mas como ele não respondeu, fomos procurá-lo. O filho dele estava no balcão.
My dad don't want nothing to do with this.
But I think we would like to hear his answers. It's
But
his
you can't.
opportunity
You don't want
to
an
say
opportunity.
what he thinks.
You don't want nothing.
But is he here? He could speak for himself.
No, I can speak for himself. Speak for him. Why not?
I mean, your father was
It's
clearly
guilty.
guilty.
It's finished though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it hasn't finished because he was ordered to pay nearly £30,000.
But what can he pay? He ain't got nothing to pay with. If we had anything, don't you think we'd have done this pub up?
But why isn't he insured then? Surely he should be insured for these.
Well, I can't answer certain questions. Rather than wasting my time and wasting your own time, I've got customers to serve. Yes, sir. Stella?
Alguns restaurantes têm câmeras escondidas que flagram maus funcionários no ato. Vejam o que elas revelam. Essa cena mostra Arlene, uma garçonete vingativa com anos de experiência. Arlene tinha um cliente que ela achava que dava gorjetas ruins. Ela olha para os lados furtivamente e despeja o conteúdo do nariz na xícara de café. E mais uma vez, depois de Arlene ser flagrada em vídeo, ela pediu as contas antes de ser demitida. Conheçam um chefe infernal. Por ser proibido fumar na cozinha, não há cinzeiros por perto. Então, onde um fumante deve apagar seu cigarro? Oh, não. No hambúrguer, não. Um funcionário tinha testemunhado isso e instalou uma câmera durante uma semana para flagrar seu colega no ato, mas o safado não chegou a ser demitido. Eis outro truque. Observem com cuidado. Ele cospe no prato antes de servi-lo. Nesse caso, o dono do local demitiu o empregado assim que viu o vídeo. Esse homem deixou uma mulher e sua filha doentes depois que comeram seus kebabs. Tudo aconteceu nesse restaurante e a bactéria que fez mal a elas é a do tipo mais comum, a campylobactéria.
I ate mine, and Charlotte said to me, I don't really like mine, so I ate half of hers. About 5 in the morning, I just woke up ghastly, really, really felt extremely ill, and my hair was soaking. And then I went through to Charlotte's bedroom, and Charlotte was the same.
Your stomach would sort of spasm, and then it would subside and spasm again, and it was absolutely, and that was you could just scream with the pain. It was absolutely terrible.
My tongue wouldn't fit my mouth, and my lips were swollen. And by that time I started to bleed, like different symptoms. And then the doctor called in in the early hours of the Thursday morning, and were taken to hospital. And then I got some bumps on my legs, swelling, on the shin bone. And then my hair started to come out. I was going like that, and my hair was just all falling in my fingers and on the pillow. And they said that the food that was in my stomach was definitely the food that poisoned us, was the kebab.
Elas falam nisso como se tivesse sido ontem. De fato, aconteceu há mais de 10 anos, quando Charlotte tinha 9 anos.
But they said that if I had ate the full kebab, because I was only 9, I would have died.
Muriel levou meses para se recuperar. Até hoje, ela precisa de uma dieta especial. Ela processou o dono do restaurante, Abdulaziz, e ganhou $6 mil. Mas isso foi apenas o começo da saga que durou uma década. Muriel contratou um detetive particular, pois Aziz alegou que não poderia pagar de uma vez e ofereceu dar $215 por semana. Muriel sabia que ele tinha muito dinheiro e o detetive descobriu vários carros e casas ligados a Aziz. Mas não adiantou muito, pois era difícil achar Aziz.
As soon as he knew that she was pursuing him for the money, he moved assets, he moved his cars into other people's names, he moved property into other people's names, and he left the country. So there's no way of serving him with the documents to actually get him back into the court to then make him account for the money he owed to Muriel.
I think he was hoping I would just disappear so he could get on with his life. But I never went away.
Finalmente, o advogado de Muriel ameaçou pedir a falência de Aziz e conseguiu receber os $6 mil no ano passado. Embora o restaurante não esteja no nome dele, o Sr. Aziz ainda é o gerente. E como estará esse restaurante infernal 10 anos depois? Clive Temple foi investigar a cozinha.
Doing demonstrations on steam cleaning machines, getting rid of dirt, grease, all the germs, everything else. It takes 5 minutes of your time to show what it does. Think well,
Clive marcou uma reunião com Aziz no dia seguinte.
Save money on it. All I do is do the 5-minute demonstration and then I go.
Quando volta, Clive faz a demonstração de sua lavadora a vapor e há muita sujeira onde usá-la. Primeiro nas paredes. Depois Clive se concentra na sujeira em cima do fogão. O Sr. Aziz assiste à demonstração de Clive. Talvez ele possa comprar o aparelho, mas é uma rápida olhada nos fundos que confirma que o restaurante ainda é uma atração para os camundongos.
You can see just rubbish, the general smell as well. Oh, glass and debris everywhere. The wood is short, right? You could actually get mice very easily.
Mostramos o filme para o fiscal Peter Phillips e perguntamos o que ele achou dos padrões de higiene.
Inside the restaurant, we can see lots and lots of grease build-up, which, again, any pests which have got in, like cockroaches, are going to feed on that forever and a day. From the yard side again, we can see an air brick, which is completely broken, so rats and mice have got free access to the inside of the building through that air brick. If something has gone drastically wrong there, and that they've had some financial loss or prosecution or a civil claim against them in the past, one would think that that would make you pull your socks up a bit. And certainly from what we can see in the film here, still a very dirty premises, still lots of pest problems there.
Quisemos entrevistar o Sr. Aziz. Ele se recusou, mas disse que o restaurante é fiscalizado sempre e que não houve outro caso como o de Muriel. Passamos o que descobrimos para as autoridades sanitárias para observarem melhor. Blackpool recebe 11 milhões de turistas por ano e gastam milhões em seus hotéis e restaurantes. Foi um anúncio que levou Yvonne e Michael Jenkins a passar as férias lá no ano passado. Eles fizeram reservas no New Australia Hotel. Mas esse seria o começo de uma jornada fatal para Michael Jenkins, de 52 anos.
Michael paid with his life for having E. coli 0157 after going to Blackpool on holidays.
Em sua terra natal, em Gales do Sul, Yvonne leva flores ao túmulo do marido. Ela ainda não consegue falar sobre o que aconteceu.
She is coping very good. I mean, people tell me how well I'm coping. But I expect, like me, she cries into her pillow many nights.
O primo de Michael, David Stone, foi o padrinho do casamento.
I think it's a most unusual state of affairs for somebody to come home from holidays with what is described as food poisoning, only within 48 hours to undergo emergency surgery and to have vital organs removed from their body.
Michael e Yvonne visitaram todas as atrações de Blackpool. Eles se divertiram até Michael começar a se sentir mal.
On the Sunday night before they come back, I spoke to Michael, asked if he was enjoying, yes, good time, and so on. And then at the end of the conversation, after I asked him if they'd enjoyed their show, I said to him, "Are you okay?" He said, "Oh," he said, "I got a bit of sickness and diarrhea."
Segunda-feira, quando voltariam para casa, foi horrível para Michael. Ele não havia melhorado. Yvonne avisou o hotel, mas eles não tinham tempo de ir ao médico, pois perderiam o ônibus. De volta a Gales, o diagnóstico foi intoxicação alimentar. Na quarta-feira, Michael estava tão mal que foi internado para ser operado.
What they found was a collapsed colon, an infected bowel, both of which had to be removed, and they had to perform a colostomy.
Enquanto isso, em Blackpool, iniciaram uma investigação, pois outros 2 hóspedes haviam sido vítimas da mesma bactéria fatal, a Escherichia coli 0157. A dona do hotel, Barbara Ashurst, foi entrevistada pela TV local na época.
The health authorities have been round and we are cooperating with them with everything they've asked us to do. At this moment in time, the test results aren't complete, so we've had no new cases as yet, so we're just hoping that everything will be okay.
Mas não estava tudo bem. Michael não recobrou a consciência depois da operação.
He was put on a respirator. I think it was 2 days later, his kidneys started giving problems. Then his lungs started giving problems, and his liver started giving problems, and he turned a bright colour yellow.
His heart stopped on a Thursday night before he died. He had to resuscitate. And I suppose then it was downhill all the way from then, really. Although we weren't prepared to accept that. Say, where is life? There's hope. We don't give up hope.
And then at the very end, they just didn't even have to switch the machines off. He just passed away.
O enterro de Michael foi no dia 12 de setembro. 3 outros hóspedes do hotel foram internados, mas se recuperaram. O relatório completo da investigação ainda não foi publicado.
At the end of the investigation, we had 8 confirmed cases and 30 possible cases. That's people with symptoms who've been staying at the hotel during that week.
O Dr. D acha que o hotel serviu carne com a bactéria Escherichia coli, que se espalhou porque a carne crua estava em contato com alimentos preparados ou foi servida apenas aquecida, sem estar completamente cozida. Mas a comida suspeita ainda permanece um mistério.
We never identified the source of the outbreak. We never identified any swabs from the kitchen. We never identified any equipment. We never found where it came from in terms of the food chain. All we know was that the cases were connected through the hotel through a fairly short time frame.
Os fiscais da Saúde Pública inspecionaram a cozinha do hotel e mandaram que fosse limpa com esmero só por precaução.
We have had no contact from the owners or the management of the hotel expressing sorrow that Michael was a hospital patient and certainly no condolence to his widow that Michael has died.
Pedimos uma entrevista à senhora Ashurst por causa da morte de Michael, depois de ter comido no restaurante dela. Ela recusou o convite, mas através de seu advogado ofereceu condolências à família.
Certainly there is a very serious question about how we feed back to the people who have been affected about what's happened. I don't think we tackle as well as we could do.
Mas há outros lugares onde eles atacam com mais firmeza. Uma semana depois da epidemia em Blackpool, a mesma bactéria infestou uma lanchonete da rede Wendy's, no estado americano do Oregon.
Tony and I were in a meeting downtown on that day, and
we ran late and decided to stop quickly and go through the drive-thru at Wendy's and pick up dinner.
We bought 4 bacon junior cheeseburgers and a couple of chicken nuggets for the kids.
By Sunday, Evan started complaining of intense cramping and pain. By Tuesday, he was throwing up and having severe diarrhea. When I brought him to the doctor on Wednesday, they put him on an IV in the doctor's office for 4 or 5 hours, and then they sent us over to Salem Hospital.
No dia seguinte, o irmão caçula ficou doente.
Thursday, we told the doctor that Scott was throwing up now too, and he had bloody diarrhea, and the doctor said, get him in right now, he's too small to take any chances with.
Joanne recebeu uma ligação da Vigilância Sanitária perguntando o que eles haviam comido.
Over a period of just 2 days, we had 9 cases of culture-confirmed E. coli 0157 infection. Of those initial 9 cases, 8 of them had eaten at Wendy's restaurant, and not only at any Wendy's restaurant, but at the very same Wendy's restaurant in Salem.
Na sexta-feira, as crianças foram transferidas para o CTI de um hospital especializado.
I was very frightened. I knew something was seriously wrong. You don't go to Dornbecker Children's Hospital unless there's something seriously wrong. Evan doesn't know what's going on, but he knows it's very bad, and he's very scared. Our hour-long ambulance ride, about 45 minutes of it was him screaming.
Okay, I'm just going to put this on your finger, and it's going to make a blue line on that monitor up there.
The kidney specialist ran through the course of the illness. The kidneys will shut down, they'll need blood transfusions. He did let us know that there was the possibility of, if the illness progresses, it can go to the brain and cause seizures or coma. It can do liver damage, pancreas damage, which are permanent things.
Brain damage.
And death. In 4 to 5% of cases, there's death. I finally was leaning over Scott's bed, and he'd be laying there, and I'd say, Scott, I know it's up to you. You got to fight through this.
Poucas horas depois da denúncia dos casos na Wendy's, os fiscais inspecionaram a cozinha da lanchonete.
Well, the restaurant closed later that day after the inspectors visited it. We basically told them, look, we have reason to believe that the outbreak is coming from your facility, and they voluntarily closed the restaurant. In fact, they issued a press release to that effect even before we got our press release out. They were very proactive in doing that.
Os fiscais não encontraram a fonte da bactéria, mas acham que ela foi produzida por uma contaminação de outro alimento. A luz ultravioleta mostra um corante que adicionamos à carne. Talvez não seja necessária muita habilidade para preparar hambúrgueres, mas usam-se muito as mãos. Se a bactéria já estiver na carne, ela pode infectar várias outras coisas, passando da faca para alimentos como verduras. Assim, a bactéria não é eliminada na frigideira. A lanchonete fechou as portas por 1 semana e fez reformas na cozinha para manter separados alimentos cozidos e crus e abriu novamente antes de os meninos estarem completamente curados.
I came home from the hospital one time, and I drove by Wendy's and saw cars in their drive-thru. And I was angry. It surprised me, but I was angry. And why are those people supporting that company? And why are the same people that infected my kids still working there? You know, I was outraged. I really was.
Depois de 10 dias, Evan teve alta. Scott demorou mais em sua luta contra a infecção. Ele ficou mais de 18 dias internado e temem que ele tenha uma lesão permanente nos rins.
Even if they both get better, there could be a honeymoon period where 6 months, a year, 10 years, up until they become an adult, it can come back.
Os Klaus contrataram o advogado Bill Marler para processar a lanchonete. Ele é especialista em casos de intoxicação alimentar e já ganhou 150 milhões de dólares em indenizações para seus clientes.
This is a case that is about as close to open and shut as you can get. And really the best thing for Wendy's and their insurance company to do is to sit down across the table and to help us figure out a way to make sure that the Klaus family is appropriately compensated for what the risks are that these kids face in the future. And these kids do have risks.
A Wendy's disse que é responsável por quem fica doente com o que come nas suas lanchonetes. A seguradora deles cuidará de tudo. E eles disseram que a fonte do problema foi a alface.
The day I brought Evan home from the hospital, we were driving back from Portland, and we were about halfway home. And Evan goes, "I'm hungry, Dad." I go, "Evan, I'll fix you something when we get home." He goes, "No, let's stop and get a hamburger." I go, "No, Evan, no hamburger for you, buddy."
Bill Marler acha que o único modo de ensinar os restaurantes é batendo onde dói, no bolso.
I personally think that what a restaurant should do immediately is, if they feel like they have a problem, to announce it publicly. And if they've sickened people, to take full responsibility up front for paying all the folks' medical expenses and their wages. I think that's the least they can do. I mean, they make a living, they make a profit out of serving food to the public. And if they poison someone, if it's 1 or 1,000 people, they need to take full responsibility for it.